Subscribe now and join us for the stories that connect us all. Together, let's explore the heart of South Sudan. Welcome to Around South Sudan. You go to podcast for the stories that shape our nation. Each week we explore the most impactful headlines that are shaping the narrative in South Sudan. We delve into issues related to national development, peace building, politics, culture and economics. To stay informed and engaged, tune into Around South Sudan.
Dear viewers, thank you so much for your patience, and we have had yet again another technical glitch, and we were unable to do the show at the right time, but we do appreciate your patience and always staying glued to this program every Friday. We are today having another edition of the show, and as you can see, I have guests seated around me. Well, today we are looking at the changes that President Salva Kiir made this week, removing former Chief Justice Chandrich Madut and replacing him with a new person, but not new per se. He has been in the system, and that is Dr. Benjamin Bak Deng. Now, the changes have come after 14 years when Chandrich had actually been in this helm for this long, since South Sudan gained independence. But all the changes came with a lot of reactions, and the reactions I can't judge, but yes, the citizens have actually spoken after this. But these changes came after a long time of their outcry towards the judicial system. They have not seen justice as it is actually mandated, and this is what we are looking at. So with the new guy, we ask whether this would bring about a change, whether this would bring another change, given the challenges that the institution had faced over this year, from the judges facing a lot of challenges, transport and other services, and just basically living in good condition, to corruption within the system. I can't say per se because I have no evidence, but those are all complaints coming from the public. And to discuss this further, I am joined by Al-Hadi Awari, right to my face. He's a senior journalist at iRadio, and James Atem Quir, who is a news editor, and alongside him is Kong Pal Chang, a seasoned commentator and also a media expert, and they're here to unpack this particular topic we're about to discuss. All of you are welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, I've spoken a lot about these changes, but not so in-depth. Just I would be hearing from you regarding these changes, and already we saw views from the public. And in our story, we have had a lot of bitterness, but also kind of saying, well, we have welcomed these changes and want to see reforms in the judiciary. So, Kong Pal Chang, as somebody who has been in the media even before South Sudan gained independence, you have all along taken through this journey of this country, and you have written stories. You have also not just done that and did a lot of things in this field. So what does this mean to you as a veteran? I would define you as a veteran journalist. I mean, what does this change mean to you?
Okay, not to me, to the people of South Sudan. And my take on this is that to me it's a normal change like any other change that is happening, because it's not about, although people have received it well, they welcome the news, but the bigger picture there is that it's like any other change in any institution. But what people are happy about seem to be because he has overstayed or he stayed there for long. He's older, like he has been there for us the same time we got our independence. So the children who were born during independence, they only know one Chief Justice. Okay? So I think that is the reason why people say, okay, he has gone, let somebody else come. But the challenge is is this holistic, this change is a change of the positions and individuals, but not the system. This is the judiciary system where the Chief Justice is the head of judiciary, where issues to do justice system, where justice is served in the country. So, but we need to ask ourselves what has been there, what challenge has been there before with the former Chief Justice. He may not be the problem. Problem may lie somewhere else. And in a democratic country, we talk about independent judiciary. We talk because there are three arms of government. We talk about independent parliaments. We talk about independent judiciary. We talk about executive, because executive now is the parliament watch over the executive, and then the judiciary now implement the law. That's how they work. But when we ask ourselves with our situation in South Sudan, is judiciary in South Sudan independent? If it is not independent, then the problem will, those challenges will continue. We'll continue facing those challenges. And what are those challenges? Is the welfare of judges. Second is the corruption, especially one of the lawyers said there's too much corruption with the police in court. They have police court. This include what they call motarer or investigators and all those things. There is also a challenge in infrastructures, even including the number of judges. So there are so many things, and also the prisons is overcrowded, congested, because the cases are not moving because of those challenges. They lack resources. They don't have resources to make sure that these cases move. And the driver there, that's why these blames or these concerns look like is the work of the guy in charge, which is the Chief Justice, that he should drive the change, he should drive all this. But when we talk about judiciary change, I think the peace agreement has clearly stated that all this change, not only in judiciary, but in economic sector, in other sector, including security sector. So when this guy comes in now, will peace agreement be implemented? Are they ready? People are ready to, I mean the signatories to the peace agreement, are they there to implement peace agreement? Because when they are implementing peace agreement, then now those reforms will happen. And because the reason, one of the reasons also why people are so happy, or many people welcome this, the description of the Chief Justice, the new Chief Justice and his deputy, they describe them as credible, respected, legal professional. You see, that's why these are the people who will follow the law. They will not take decisions, or they will not work because of what they have, but they work based on what is in the law of South Sudan. That's the belief. But to me, I will say it's too early for us to celebrate, because these people are appointed, and the appointing authority will allow them to do their work or not. The question of independent judicial system.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a big question, Alhadi.
Yes.
So what would you say?
Yes. Let me say this. You know, we always like to report that there is mixed reaction. But this time there is no mixed reaction.
Okay.
All the reactions are one side, are very negative reactions, but at the same time it's positive with the new Chief Justice. There is one thing I want to mention, Lasuba. You know, the judiciary is the part of the government that is responsible to implement laws. Because I try always, you know, I remember during the Sudan time, I try to ask what kind of the system that we have in the country. The answers that I'm getting from the experts, the senior judges, that what we inherited from Sudan, I remember last time we talked about the bad politics and whatever, but what we inherited from Sudan in terms of judicial system or law systems, this is the one of the best that we have in South Sudan. I'm not, how do you call it, resident of East Africa, but you guys, you know, in East Africa, if there is anything concerning criminal or whatever, police is the one playing all this. But here, there is a number of the players. Judiciary is the one responsible for all this, you know, to take you to the jail, to release you, to do whatever. But the first process is starting with the Ministry of Interior. This Mudhari, this investigator.
Mm-hmm.
The investigator is the one to investigate you, to start with you, take you to the Minister of Justice, which is the Attorney General, Wakil Niyaba. You can see them in different police stations. And then from there, if your case is still, and then they will take you to the judge. First grade judge, you know, high court judge, this is what is happening. But now in the country, if you look at all this time of Maulana Charij Madut from 2011, by the way, is someone that I have seen people wrote a lot about Maulana Dr. Benjamin Bak, but Maulana Charij Madut is someone that I remember we traveled with him a number of places here in South Sudan, even in Sudan, when he was a deputy head of the Referendum Commission. I remember we went to Wanakal, Panyikang. He's someone who's very quiet, by the way. That's why, you know, when I ask for interview, you say, okay, bring your questions. And then later, if you're lucky, you can interview. If you're not lucky, you cannot. So during his time, you know, a new country like South Sudan, it can face a lot of issues. The first thing, we are overwhelmed with issues of land grabbers, whatever happened. If you go to the High Court now, you will find that there is a lot of cases of, most of them are civil cases. Yeah, there is some criminal cases because civil cases stay long, you know, for you to proceed for the verdict, the final verdict. Because the criminal is very short. That's why you see some of the lawyers, they prefer to deal with the civil cases because things will move with them, okay, you'll give them masarif to mbura ajadel. So during this time, yeah, the court, the High Court or the judiciary face a lot of issues and challenges. But also we cannot forget the roles of the partners, the UNDP, and then you have the Netherlands Embassy. They play a lot of roles. Because sometimes you go to the court, you're waiting, you know, for the police of how do you call them? The judicial police to bring the accused person from the prison. They'll just tell you, we adjourn the sitting because the car is broken down. There's nobody there. So later, there was a good gesture from Netherlands and UNDP. I think they bought number of cars as mobility, you know, for the different states. The other things, we're still facing the issue of having courts in different states. Now, like places like Yei, you'll face some issues there. Till they'll move something called mobile court to go there and address what is happening there exactly as judges.
But the mobile courts were also done in support of UNDP and other partners.
Yes. So the question is, you ask, sometimes you go to the High Court, to the court there, they'll tell you that there is no receipts or there is no papers. Just for them to type your case and then you go. You know, there is a lot of process being done there in that High Court. Just, you know, for you to organize the movement of human beings in this country. But they're not there. When you ask, again, they will tell you the head of the institutions. Who was that? Was Maulana Charij Madut. But we hope that, as Kong mentioned, we cannot celebrate what is going on. We don't know what is Maulana Bak having for us as citizens of this country, you know, for us to solve our issues. But we wait for that. As you can see, is someone who is full experience. The same thing is also a colleague is a former colleague, you know, Charij Madut. They're from the same college, the same university together. They started together the same years. But still, you ask yourself, what's the difference? So people jump and say, no, there is corruption, there is whatever. The issue of the mobility. Because if you compare our judges in South Sudan and it was the one of the region. I can just remember one thing, compare the judges here with, for example, go to Middle East or go to Sudan. You know, when you become a judge, after you pass the interview, you've been appointed as a judge, assistant judge, you'll be prevented not to go in some of the places, public places, for example. You cannot go to a stadium to watch football. They'll pay for you that. You cannot go to the public places, you know, just go and chill there, no. You cannot go like what is happening in Juba, go in the PT places, because you're the one always in the court that, you know, some you can rule the death of some people, you know, because based on the cases that they have. How can you go in? There is a very common story that happened in Juba here. The judge who, you know, the verdict was for the death of that person. After 2 days, he went to Juba market. He found the guy is washing his hand together with him, and then he greeted him, "Hey, Molana Kev."
This is the guy who was sentenced to death.
Yes, the guy got shocked.
Well, we don't have proof of that.
We don't have proof on that, but you know, there is a lot of things that happening in the country during all this time.
So, Al-Hadi, I'm glad you're saying that we can't yet celebrate the new Chief Justice, nor what Kong said, should we also blame the former Chief Justice for the challenges that the judiciary faced. And you mentioned one important thing, Kong, regarding the functioning of this judiciary, which you also earlier on alluded to. It's about, you wonder whether it is the problem of the government, that is the political, the political side of it that has affected the functioning of the judiciary, or there are other factors other than that. So maybe Atem, you have something to share, because it's really very complex when we start to talk about these challenges that the judiciary faced.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, as we all believe, our judicial system hasn't been functioning to the expectation of the citizen for the last 15 years. It is also important that we acknowledge what has been built up to this part. If you look at it, our judicial system, how it came to be from the airport of going to justice, although there have been challenges when it comes to delivering justice by the courts. I would like to highlight the issue that has to do with the jurisdiction. You had, I think last week we read a story by advocates that there are some cases, like especially in cases to do with gender violence, that are not supposed to be handled by the customary courts. They are supposed to be done by statutory courts that are set up by the Constitution. But I see the reason why such court, especially the customary courts, come in to do the work that should have been done by the regular courts. This is because probably the judges, let's say at the county level, aren't there. Maybe they are on leave. For example, the one in Malakal who we reported this week, or is it last week? Yes. Early this week, rather. Yes, where a judge went for leave, for medical leave, but never returned.
He did return back.
The impact was inmates at the main prison in Malakal. The number is increasing. Conditions are getting worse, and there is no judge to try their cases. So when you see that, that has been the challenge. So it all goes back to what Mr. Kong said earlier on, the welfare issue, and the pay for these judges. I'm quite sure we all know how much a government employee receives in this country.
Yes.
You know the salary of the MPs, the salary of the lecturers. I think those are the only category of employees that are paid properly to some extent. But the rest of the employees receive low pay. So I think that has been the challenge, and it will be interesting to see what the new Chief Justice is going to do in regards to that. What kind of reforms is he going to initiate? Will increase the budget for the judiciary, appoint maybe more judges to handle cases, deploy more judges even to remote areas. I'm sure many judges that are here in Juba, there are so many judges in Juba, but we will not want to be deployed to places like Nasser because of insecurity, or places like Jonglei where there is flooding. They would not want to go there, but conditions obviously are not going to be okay. There are conditions. So that is the major challenge. So we saw from the reaction of the public that everybody is happy to have seen this change come at this particular time. But like Kong said, it may be way too early for us now to celebrate, because it's just the change is the pace, but the system, the way to reform this system may take a while, and that's yet to be seen. So thank you.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to come in there, and when we said judiciary is one arm of government, and without it functioning, then there's a problem. And I think if we look at how things are happening in South Sudan, lack of rule of laws is the cause of every problem. Because if in most part,
there are rule of laws, but
The law
enforcement,
enforcement,
I'm talking about. Because if you don't implement, there's no rule of law. Yeah. Like we talk in 2023, I remember the former deputy chief justice John Gadwich will say that lack of judges is a challenge. Infrastructure, like in most cases, in most part of South Sudan, they don't have buildings for judges where cases are tried. It's like, and you cannot send a judge to rule the case under the tree like customary court. These are some of the challenge. And with the data, he said there were, by that time, I don't know now, but there were 22 active judges all over the country. There were 30 high court judges, and then there is plus those lower courts. He said there were 19 active judges and 43 magistrates. And he said also, you remember, and I think this is what the former Chief Justice will take or will reflected in his CV, one of his challenge, or one of the people will say it was a setback during his time. In most cases now, they cite one of the challenge is the dismissal of how many judges? 14 judges in 2017. These judges were not returned. The court of the East African court asked the president to revoke the dismissal and return them, but they were not returned. These judges were they were just dismissed because they demanded for the welfare. They want a fair treatment. They want cars. They just want to be, because in East Africa, if you look at in East Africa, judges have allowance, judges have insurance, judges have, like for example, the Chief Justice salary in Kenya is over $7,000. Okay, it's like 1.1 million Kenya shilling. And any judge, other judges, okay, below him, they get about $5,000. Okay, if you come to Uganda, the Chief Justice get about $5,000. The other judges get about $2,000, over $2,000. And if you compare it with the welfare of our judges here, there's nothing. So this one also cripples, become a challenge to judiciaries to delivering justice to victim of lawlessness and all those. That's one thing. So the other thing also, we need also to maybe take a stock of what maybe that will go in the history, that the positive thing also. I think immediately after independence, some years later, the cases of gender-based violence went up everywhere. And in South Sudan, people still believe in culture, culture and all those. Beating a wife or all those things are normal. But I think Chanrech with the partners, other partners, came and implemented made a good attempt to make sure that these issues are addressed. So there's, in South Sudan now, in Juba, as we speak, there's a gender-based violence court that has been trying so many cases of even there was a time where every week you will hear a young man sentenced to certain years in jail for rape cases, all those things. And those years, people used to do what? Used to say, rape cases, you just marry. If you rape a girl, you marry her. Because as per custom in most community. But this thing, I think he came and implemented. It will go down also as a positive step that he came and addressed. There has been also a serious involvement of organized forces, killing civilians, raping, and all those. I think also they came up with what they call, how do they call it in the army? Military courts, where they go to each state and trial all those cases, and those people most of them were sentenced to death, even through firing squad and all those. I think those are the positive thing that happened during Chanraj. But it also, the challenge there also, the judicial system was crippled because the judges were not enough, and almost, 14 were sent home because they demanded for better pay and also a better working condition in such case. So in that cases, these are the things also maybe the current leadership may start addressing, especially, for example, we spoke to human rights lawyer who said most of the cases that top the list of cases are land issues, and they are just filing there in court and nobody's addressing them because of this challenge. Maybe the two guys as a team with the others, with the structure that exists, will try to address this issue of welfare. I think they are making a lot of money. How much do you pay now? But you end up paying, and your case is not addressed. For me, I had a case in the court, and I could not get justice. I had to resort to customary court. Yeah, because there you have to spend a lot of money, and your case is not even addressed. You just go, it's dismiss, come another day. So I had to go to, in most South Sudanese now are resorting to, with this PT issue, are resorting to, because big court or customary court, at least people use their traditional way of addressing their problem, and problem is resolved. So you see some of those challenges.
And there are stories of individual, or what we call strong or powerful individuals in the system who have acted unconstitutionally, but we haven't had that an intervention from the judiciary, like we have had in some countries. Like even we talk about US, a federal court would actually stop the president from moving further with his decision, like on the tariffs and also sending away migrants. We have not really seen this in South Sudan. So why do you think this actually happened during his time, if anyone has an insight?
For you to have a very strong judiciary system in the country, the first thing you start with, thinking about to empower that. When you're talking about judiciary, it's institutions. So empower that institutions so that can play a big role in terms of, we have less than 15 years as a country. And when you look at issues that are happening in this country, people also refer to generals. Nobody can go to the high court there and fire guns or do whatever if he or she sure that is someone who's very powerful. So it happens. There is some reports of the media. Journalists can report that there is something happened. Sometimes you go, even not that. By the way, that one is something that is better than you go to the court, you're moving on with your case, and later you'll find that your file disappeared, because the judge is dealing with you as La Suba member when you have a case based on that file. So the file contains all the information about your case. But sometimes you'll find that the file is not there. You know, it's better for someone to come and threaten you and say, that one is very clear. But when you ask about your file, who took that file? Nobody ask. Although there is a people who are responsible for that docket, but they don't tell you anything. So most of the cases that now we have is the issue of lands, you know. But when you ask, they say there is no judges. There is judges there. But also there is a wide gap between the judges, you know, and the people. There is some people, those who have very nice experience in terms of going there, apart from the lawyers. The lawyers sometimes, some of them even, they look like this, okay, let me just be part of that system also. If there is system there, you know, how for me to navigate my things and, you know, just to move around, let me be there because this is their work. But what about the vulnerable people that, you know, someone will go, like, there is a case is that someone will go and say, oh, you know, my brother-in-law came and sold the house, you know, when I was in the house because for example, my husband died. They cannot get a solution for that. When you go and open a case, you'll move definitely. You'll move from police station to the attorney general. From attorney, you go to the county court, for example. You'll find that it's difficult for you to proceed with that case. Why? Because there is a lot of obstacles. When I ask about all these obstacles, I found that there is a corruption somewhere. So all these challenges, let me tell you, I'm sure this guy is aware about everything because he's someone who moved all these departments. He knows what is happening. But the question is he having that, how do you call it, the stick of, this magic stick to change, you know, the narrative from day and night? I don't think so. He needs a cooperation. Not even from judges, from lawyers, from media houses, from some of the judges there. Because don't forget, when you come to the system, you found there are some people there who
What
are
about
that
the highest authority?
If you look at this appointment, sorry, Atem will come. If you look at this appointment, that means the highest authority acknowledge that there is something there, I need to do something. That's why in one of the media reports say bold efforts. It's not just bold efforts, but the highest authorities know that there is something there, I want to do it. To do what? To reform it. To change the narrative what is happening there. And instead of someone else going to the court and say, but the same thing can happen. But now if you go, you'll get someone who can, you know, answer you, and then if you have some questions, you have some, you know, you need to require some of the things.
Unless there is a backup to say, I've made this decision as a leader, and certainly I'm going to support that, because if there is no that support, it would still be the same scenario. We have mentioned the challenges that the judiciary faced over this time, but if there is no that political support for him, that will not work. And I have the same question to you, by the way. I'm talking about, he did mention that vulnerable people actually find it hard to access justice, and powerful individuals just go free. We talked about many UN reports about impunity in this country. So what is your take?
Yeah, like you said, impunity is a major issue in this country, especially when it comes to dealing with individuals that are powerful, people who are in the government, influential figures, those in the military, like you mentioned, and others. But the most important thing is the question of independence. How independent is the judiciary from the influence of the military, from the influence of the politician, the executive branch, like Mr. Kong said earlier? How independent are they? Okay, the Chief Justice was appointed by the President. The Deputy was appointed by the President. If they happen to act against what the President has proposed, will he or will he not remove them and change them? That's another question. We have not seen that before, because we have not seen that scenario before, but it will be interesting to see how the President, if, for example, the President proposes a policy, okay, and then that policy get challenged in the High Court, and then the judges of the Supreme Court rule against it, and the President appoints them. We'll see what will happen. Will he remove them? But also the other important thing is the respect for the rule of law. I think generally South Sudanese cultures have a tendency of not respecting the rule of law. Take for example, like Lahadi said, the cases in the courts today in the country, majority of them come from land issues, mostly land grabbing.
Yeah.
It's not that people do not know that it is wrong for you to take someone's land and occupy it and take it by force. People know that, but they want to take advantage of the system that is there because they know the system is very weak. The system lack maybe the application, the interpretation, and the application of the laws. Another one example I would like to bring. Some years back, I think around 2015, we used to have traffic lights all over Juba, powered by solar. It is interesting, we no longer see them around these days.
The solars.
What happened to them?
The solar panel have been removed.
They were removed by who?
Yeah,
You know, you can say.
Who removed them? So that is the question. People know that it was wrong, but to do that. But they took the opportunity and used it. So that it's about the culture. The judges, the judiciary may try to implement and interpret the laws the way they are supposed to be, but we will have more cases if we do not change our attitude and the way we respond to law and the way we respect our laws. So that's the point I would like to add.
Maybe I add on the issue between those powerful and innocent. You know, generally the law are made to protect everybody, no matter how powerful you are or how weak you are. Justice is where you run to. If your right is violated, okay, if you are not protected, that's where you go and seek justice. So if like the key word that people are talking about is the public lost trust in justice system. So the call now is for the citizen, what the call is, the citizens are saying for us to trust justice system and for us to go back and seek justice through the system that is there, through judiciary system, make sure you are independent, okay? You implement the law based on the constitution. What is the constitution? But what is not in your mind as individuals, that you want the thing to go your way, okay? So I think this is what people are asking for, that this justice should save everybody, no matter how you are, wherever you come from, or how powerful you are. So when we talk about the powerful individual, I think the funny part of it now is what people are seeing, or what citizens are seeing, when the politician quarrel. Like for example, recently we had politicians, even vice presidents, over the issue of what happened in Nasser. They said Riek Machar should be held accountable. If the law prove him not guilty, then be it. If it's proved guilty, then law should be. The same thing during 2013, some politicians were detained, and their case was dismissed. Okay, there were no evidence. So the question is, you see, politicians are so loud when they have political difference, but when it comes to a common citizen seeking for justice, just my land has been taken, and I want to have the papers, and I need my land to begin back to me. It does not work. So it should not be opposite. It should not be it should not be the saying that we hear where they say law are made to favor the rich or to favor the elite. They should be made to favor everybody. Even elite, like, let me say, like Riek is part of the elite. If he's innocent, the law should prove him innocent.
So that means nobody is powerful.
So I think politicians should not always run when it is their own problem, but when it is a common citizen suffering because his land has been taken, then they keep quiet. This law should be implemented equally, and this is the call we are. And I believe this is what also the new Chief Justice and his deputy will try to do. They will try their best. As we see, maybe justice will be served to those who have been waiting for. People are dying in prison. Okay, people are dying in prison because...
Which is a violation of their rights.
Yeah, this is the violation. Some people are locked up for, you're supposed to go for 24 hours, yeah? And appear in court. And that's most cases happening in Kenya and in the region. But because there's no justice system, that's why those who are powerful also, when they are not given, when justice is not safe here, they rush to Arusha to take the government to court. Some people who have difference with politicians, they went to Arusha and took the government to court. Some lawyers challenged the dismissal of 14 judges, and that's how it was revoked. Let me just say, if people need to understand justice, what is justice? Because when there is no justice safe, if justice is not safe, it can cause problem.
That's true.
And I may use example of people are wondering what is happening. What happened in Nasser? Okay, somebody killed somebody, whether a soldier that was killed, an SSPDF soldier that was killed, or a civilian that was killed by SSPDF in this so many years of SSPDF stay in Nasser. Because there was no justice safe, that particular soldier has a family. Those who kill him should be taken to court. And the family, once family see the justice has been done, they'll say, okay, this guy joined the army and served the country. The same to this same citizen in Nasser who was killed because of misunderstanding. What happened? If those who killed him, or if the relatives see that justice was served, today you will not see this problem. It's just a small problem.
So
like
justice
this
is
can trigger a big problem.
So justice is the base of peace.
Yeah, it's a base of peace. Yes.
That's true.
This is a good example that I can use.
Yeah, you mentioned interesting about Riek Machar. It just elicits in my mind the cases that are ongoing in the neighboring countries, the like of Besigye, when he was arrested in Kenya and brought back to his own country. And it didn't take long. He was immediately produced in court. And would you say this is the kind of system we want in this country, so that you fast-track justice to ensure that things are resolved on time, because the more you delay, the more you're actually making the problem bigger. And so what is your suggestion here?
There is, with politicians, they have something called political will. The one of, for example, the one of Besigye is a politician, and if you look at it, is politically motivated. Even I can tell you that, even the one of Dr. Riek Machar. So when it comes to the issue of justice for those who are vulnerable, like I mentioned before, to get the rights in the court, there is no any political will there to save them. Because if there is a political will to save them, that means you need to ask about the budget of the judiciary. You need to speed up, to accelerate the process. You ask, why you allow UNDP and the other partners to come and support you to have a mobile court to go around the country, although you have the resources? This is a question here also. So if you look at the different wings of the government, they always complete each other, they're working together. So for you to think that I'm moving well as a government and I'm moving well as the leader of this country, I must do this and this to complete each other, and then we say, okay, it's a part of service delivery. So you found that, as I mentioned before, the Minister of Justice, the Minister of Interior, they always completing their work very early in terms of the investigator. Okay? The same thing is the Minister of Justice, because Minister of Justice, through the legal office in the different states, they're the one in charge in terms of deploying the Attorney General in the different police stations. Also the same thing. But it come to the court, county court, is belong to the judiciary. Okay? You'll find that the person who was, still waiting for the court process will spend like more than 1 year at the central prison waiting for the judge. It's not like even like the one Quer mentioned, the one of Malakal, the judge, he went for a medical treatment outside, he didn't return back. So you'll see the cases, just file will be just like that. So here, it needs a political will of the whole of the country, because this country be driven by the politicians, those who are in different positions as executives. Okay? If you work well as the person that in charge to release the resources of this, like, let me tell you one thing, Kong. You mentioned something about there is fines there. You know, in the court, when you finish your arrangements of the court, the verdict and everything, when, you know, always the charges or the fine of the civil case is more than the one of the criminal. Because the criminal case, you look at like something live in front of you like this. But the civil case will take time. When you finish it, for example, you're demanding me $100,000. Okay? I'll be doing you, I didn't pay the money. Later, you say, okay, I'll pay the money. So the court has percentage of that money. When you open a case against me,
I pay from the money you owe me.
No, when you open a case against me, okay, you demand me $100,000. I didn't pay your money. You go open a case. Later, the judge always, by the way, they have educative pieces there. They dedicate you. You will learn a lot of things from them as judges. They tell you now, I'll add it for you to move on.
There are options.
Listen to Kong. There is some options there. You settle these things, Kong will release you, and then you pay the money. Later will come and cancel the case completely. So for me to do that, I will go and find the money to give it to you. Later when you finish like this, the judge say, okay, there is now the case changed from criminal to civil. So now, both of you guys, you have to pay the court. You say, no, I have already got my money.
For the services.
There is a fees that you have to pay the fees. So they will tell you, okay, go to there is you know, those staffs, officials there. You'll go to them, they'll calculate the money according to the rate of the bank of today. You'll pay 1% of this 100,000 in pound. They have money there. But this one is not like the other.
It goes to
fees.
finance? Does it go to finance?
This is the question that we didn't try to follow up, by the way, the answer for it. Because you'll find that even there is no any legal, how do you call it? You call it from 8 or from what? The one of finance, the one of NRA. So later you'll find 15. That any process that you have been doing with the judiciary, the money is not, there is something just, you know, you pay, they'll tell you it's 1,000, 2,000, 500, something like that. When you come to these real cases that they're doing, there's a lot of money you have to pay at the end of your case during the, you know, when you finish the verdict or do the compromise. So there is money there. But how they handle it, this is the question now. Because what I've just found, the number of the judges, by the way, the numbers are limited. But when you found the other, because I remember in Sudan, they always open the, you know, there's some opportunities open to the, there is some lawyers can, you know, can apply and then they become also judges. There is some judges can abandon their work as judges, they go become, the same law they're using, become lawyers. So here, how you coordinate your work for you to succeed. But still, human is human. You're the one controlling the citizen. For you to deliver for them that service that is supposed to give. Because if I have issue with you and then you go to the court to complain about me, I will not be happy. I must ask you when I'm going to finish this. Some people have more than 10 years in the court there, you know, because the issue of the land. Why don't you just, you know, equalize the same one?
I mean, they're not supposed to be in dispute with their clients or with people who have issues. So that is not what a judge or a lawyer should do with the people out there who are coming to be served.
These cases, if you look at them, sometimes the judges or the lawyers, they call is a document proof case. That is it.
Let's talk about reforms now. People have called for reforms. What kind of reforms do we need to see, if you are to summarize, if the country is to go in the right direction? Because a country will run smoothly with citizens respecting themselves. People respect themselves when, of course, there is a court of law and people are punished for doing wrong. And this actually builds up a society where people trust themselves and respect each other, not to steal, not to loot, not to rob, not rape, and all these kind of things will stop. And that is what this country wants, especially people who have been affected by a system that has that are having individuals with impunity. That's what they're looking at, that nobody should do something out of impunity because they have the power. So what needs to be done?
Before Quer, let me just mention one thing. You know, for you to reform the judiciary system, also you have to work with the prison and you have to work with the other two ministries, the Minister of Justice and the Minister of Interior. Now in the country we have the issue of the juveniles. You don't have a reformatory center. You know, when you get someone who's underage, I think you take him or her to the prison. And from prison there, they're supposed to differentiate who is under and who is mature. But you take the underage person, the same child,
with the
together with the elders, with the adults, okay? That means...
And how do you talk about a bigger thing? We're looking at a bigger picture, because if you have done the bigger thing for the country, the rest will follow suit like these petty things, because you're talking about political will. This must come from top downwards, because when the rule is broken from the top, it is also broken down. Isn't it? If the roof is broken...
If political will is not provided by the highest authority in the country, you'll never do anything in terms of reform the judicial system. Yes, attempt.
Like you said, it's about respecting the institution. If the politicians who are in high position, powerful position, do not respect the judicial system and continue to interfere the way they did in the previous under the previous Chief Justice, there is not going to be much change that we will see, unless they understand that you don't need to use your powerful position to manipulate and get justice twisted at your end. The other thing, the other most important thing would be the other reform that the judicial system would need is from the top, especially the Chief Justice. The previous Chief Justice, like Mr. Kong said in 2017, dismissed 14 justices. That is, how did you arrive at all these people? All of them, dismissing them at once, just like that. All of them, all 14. It kind of, it was interesting. How did you try each and every individual and conclude that dismissal was the case here? So, from him himself, the Chief Justice, he need to allow his colleagues under him to exercise their right, and also strict application, interpretation and application of the law. When the case is brought before the court, no matter the victim or the aggressor, justice should be delivered accurately, without favor. I think that will encourage, and that will encourage a lot of public to trust in the justice system. We will be having election next year. I understand. We all believe like that. And we've not had an electoral dispute before. It will be interesting what kind of mechanism will you put forward right now, so that when we go for election and there is a dispute between, let's say, a commissioner who believed election was not done fairly and goes to the court, will he get the justice?
Even dispute will start in the process towards election.
Exactly. All these issues. So this guy has come at the time. There is a lot to do. We'll see what he will do within the few remaining months to next year, if we ever have an election in 2024, because but that will be another test for him. That is going to be a big test for him, and all of us are going to see what he will do in this case. Yes.
Yeah. I think the whole thing is tied down to election, and if election happen in 2026, he may only be serving for 1 year or more, because now the people will have an elected. Now these are the people. Now the MPs, the member of parliaments, will be accountable to the people, and the president who will be elected also will be accountable for the people, because he will have only 5 years in his term to go back to people to ask them whether he performed well or not. So as we speak now, all these leaders, including the president, although he was elected during the last election, but peace agreement has override everything. And that's why this peace agreement has given him power to fire and hire, fire and hire. That's peace agreement. And this peace agreement also is the one also giving us problem, because now it vested power to one person, because if we go for election, and I believe
the peace agreement did not give him their absolute right.
Absolute right, because he's the hiring, he's the one who will be appointing. Then now, being the president, despite all other parties are there, he's the final person. He can consult, but let's just go back to election. If election happen, then president will be elected, he will be people answerable, accountable to people. And he will know after 5 years, he will go and seek a vote, another vote. Whether he has performed well, it will be reflected on the vote. And here, I understand, immediately if he goes for election next year, by 2027, I believe either the new Chief Justice will apply for a job, because now the Parliament will be the one, the president will suggest, will nominate. And they will vet. And will give the list to the Parliament. And now the Parliament will be the one now betting based on their, how do you call it, integrity. Yes, that word, integrity. And then now the Parliament, if Parliament don't perform, don't hold executive accountable, they know after 5 years, we will clean them and bring others. So that's how the system works. And that's why the president will always be accountable, no matter how powerful he is, but he will go back to people after 5 years. And that's the system we want.
Right.
Yes.
Now the international community has been really engaging with the judiciary to ensure that the judicial reform committee, to ensure that this process is expedited, but it has been very slow despite support from UNDP and also the body that has been formed. So how can the government and the non-governmental organizations and the international community now work to ensure that this process is expedited and there is real reform in the judiciary as we move towards election?
You see, what I've just learned from one of our officials.
You have 2 minutes each as we wind up.
Okay, what I've just learned from one of the officials in one of the regional bodies here in the region. Some of the people, they have, some of the leaders from the region, they have their own interests to prolong what is happening in South Sudan, so that they can survive in terms of jobs that they're getting here. When you talk about this judicial reform committee, is headed by who? The person is not a South Sudanese.
The Ugandan.
Okay.
Ogala.
Yes. So Ogala. If you look at it, it's good with them, just to work whatever they're doing. Nobody's asking them. There is no any concern about the performance that they're doing until we, as South Sudanese, or as the government that we have, or the NTC headed the committee of Kwalmanyang Juk, will look up and ask, hey, where is your report? Hey, where is the report? So for us also, we have to, by the way, we have to pay our attention to that. If we're really asking for this 2026 to be the year of elections, so we need to ask ourselves, are we there is some recommendation that you can see, but there is no any result of it. That's why when you talk about reform, you need to also question the personnel that head in that department or that part of the reform. So it will go back again to ourselves as the people that...
Going back to ourselves is what the committee had requested for funding, and this has delayed the process, so it still comes back to...
He has that power, to move around to get the funding.
Let me just say this. Whatever is happening, if I may ask you a question, if you give a foreigner a job where he's getting a lot of money, and he's doing activity that will send him out of, will take his job, once this activity succeeds, then he will not have job. What will that person do? Actually, you will be happy that this confusion continue. All these RJMEC, all these Constitution Review Committee, National Constitution,
maybe we have made them enjoy.
They are enjoying the crisis we are in because their job, they will keep their job. This is very simple logic.
Yeah.
So it's upon us, we South Sudanese, the leaders, to say, let's fix our problem. Because these people are, because even Arjamek is responsible, is actually like the most highest office in peace agreement. But what they are doing, the parties are messing up, and they have been sleeping. So these bodies, we should not rely on them. Our leaders should not rely on them. They should take this country to election, and all these foreigners will go because they will not have job. Yeah.
They should take it in a transparent way to ensure that we do not relapse. You can hold election, but if we do not fix the system, we will still relapse to violence. So what do you say?
Yeah, so I appreciate the Mr. Kong and Mr. Haladi for their input. I do think the most important thing the international community and the government should work toward right now when it comes to reforming the judicial system is building the capacity of the current judges we have. It's important that they are incapacitated, they are trained properly so that they can handle different cases. I'm quite sure.
Actually, no. That one you are that. There's nothing called. You cannot come from another country coming to tell somebody who is professional, a legal professional for another legal profession from another country to come and train. There's nothing called training. You cannot train a professional. Now you cannot. You may show me. Somebody can come and tell me, okay, in Kenya, in our media we do it this way. How do you do it? I will show you how we do it here. But you cannot tell me do it this way. You are not qualifying more than me. So those judges coming to there is not. I think the word training should is not there. It's just actually
orientation,
sharing the notes. Maybe sharing the notes.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
I didn't hear anyone of you talking about really one way to empower the judiciary is to cater for the welfare of the judges and make the judiciary actually attractive, provide for their welfare, improve their conditions so they'll be able to do their job.
This is an obvious challenge that even the new Chief Justice knows, I think, because he has been in the system for all this while. So it's going to be up to him to see how he's going to get the parliament to increase the budget for the judiciary so that the judicial officials are adequately taken care of. They have good working condition so that they can stay in the duty station like the judge of Malacca, who hasn't returned there for months now. But maybe I should have narrowed my suggestion of the capacity building to a specific area, like especially area of gender-based violence. Before that, we didn't have a specific court that handled cases to do with gender-based violence. But it was initiated, and now we have a gender-based violence court that handle those issues specifically. So that's where the capacity building come in.
Yeah, you know, Tim, even I disagree because we already have laws that punish somebody who rapes.
Yes.
Just rape. Rape is a crime. Okay, it's punished through penal court. Yeah. So it's already there. So, but these guys, these people who come, they have a lot of money. They don't know how to spend the money, so they create something called GBB court. This thing they already even at the, as we speak, in your community, even as customary court, at your community, you have a neighbor girl. These people, then the people will fight. So you have to go to judicial court, and there's a way it's addressed. It's only that the victim is not given a right, the choice of the victim or the survivor is not given the way it's supposed to be, because a survivor always is given to the rapist to marry her. But in a real sense, which is supposed to be, you punish the rapist and let this girl be supported going back to school, and live a life like any other person.
Right.
Yes.
I know this will take us longer.
We will continue
so we will continue from there. Actually, very key points from you guys. We already have the laws. We have legal experts. And this, Al-Hadi is saying, what is needed is the political will.
Yes.
If that is done, plus what you have suggested, and the insights there, if the country puts itself together, and not itself but the house in order, everything in this country can be addressed. And we'll have a smooth election where leaders are held accountable. If they go through, we will tell them, okay, we will check with you in the time we have given you, but if you don't, we still vote you out. And this is a country we're looking for. Thank you, Alhali Aware. Thank you, James Atem Quir and Kwangpal Chang for the insight. I think we have taken much longer than we should have. And I do appreciate also you for having glued to this program, patiently burning your bundle just to watch and listen to some of the insight, particularly from the guest. And I want also to thank the team behind this streaming, that is Darlington Moses and Awan Moses. Let's have another edition of the same, but not the same topic. Next week we're going to be discussing on current affairs. From me to you, have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And be part of the conversation that matters. Subscribe now and join us for the stories that connect us all. Together, let's explore the heart of South Sudan. Welcome to Around South Sudan. You go to podcast for the stories that shape our nation. Each week we explore the most impactful headlines that are shaping the narrative in South Sudan. We delve into issues related to national development, peace building, politics, culture,